What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I was reading some articles last night, and this is news to me. I'm probably a couple days late on this, but apparently here in America, we now have a ministry of truth at the federal level, which is, it's just like when I think through societies that had ministries of truth at the federal level, it's just not going to end well from here. Not dooming and glooming. I'm just saying. It was really interesting that it's under the Department of Homeland Security. So you wouldn't like place that like in that flowchart category, if you will, that command line, unless you had like an enforcement arm to the Ministry of Truth. So hey guys, welcome to the land of the free, the home of the brave, and all that other good stuff where your elites print currency like it's going out of style, and you have a Ministry of Truth. Because heaven forbid the First Amendment had any type of like actual like stature to it. I just, man, it's just like, it's so crazy. It's just absolutely so crazy. I'm reading this book. I think it's worthwhile. I'm actually listening to it. That's my language, where I like to listen to things audible. So there's this book about the collapse of the Soviet Union. I find it interesting and timely, everything that's going on now, to really understand like a historical perspective on perhaps how we arrived at this moment, where I've spoken about this on this channel before, but like how we got to this fourth turning like moment, like what led up to, like what type of events occurred. And so I'll throw up this book on the screen here. I'm really enjoying it. I'm only a couple chapters through, but I'm like really starting to understand that they had excellent record keeping in the Soviet Union, and there are some eerie parallels, except the one thing that just sticks out at me when I'm listening through this book is how much more efficient the federal level of the Soviet Union was, being that it only consumed 15% of the annual output of the Soviet Union up until the collapse, whereas the US government is well above 40%, well on its way to 50% of all total GDP is being consumed by the United States government at this point in time. So if basically the math is like we're a good 3 to 4 times higher consumption. I don't know how to say that, how to phrase that. But like when this thing goes, this thing's going to be freaking biblical. But I'm also very optimistic because I mean, as you guys know, I think that the only proper form of human organization that I see throughout history that works well is allowing individuals to do what individuals want to do, provided that they're not aggressing against other individuals. And the best form of that is anarchy. And I think that that's literally where we're headed to. I think that we're going to see like a world of centralist China. I think that the American elites are going to try to push that model. That's the model they like. They like this centralized model, but I think it's going to break. And I think you're going to get like a very decentralized American anarchy type of thing occurring here in the later part of the 20s. Mainly just from a math point, mainly from a currency point, mainly from like the fact that the US government is the largest employer on earth. And at some point in time, the checks will bounce. And I mean, yeah, sure, maybe they can just print up currency, but like it won't buy you anything. And so I think that because we have such a like really great diverse culture in North America, like more so than anywhere else in the world, I think that getting all of those people, all 365 million of those people back on the same page and being like, hey guys, we're all going to use, Fed coin. We're all going to use Bitcoin. We're all going to use silver. We're all going to use Dogecoin. We're all going to use Hood coin, like your neighborhood trading coin, like getting everyone to utilize the same thing. One, I don't think is a function of government whatsoever, but two, I just don't think it's going to happen. Like, especially in North America, like the idea that you're going to get everyone to use your new digital currency at some point in time, I don't think it's going to work out. I think that literally these people are running out of time. But this book, really mind-blowing. As I'm reading through it, I'm just like, I can't believe this. Like, the parallels are absolutely incredible. And when I look at the two other major powers as far as like governmental powers go, and remember government, right, to break those two words down, to govern, right, to control, and then mental, right? So if government, so it is control mind, control the mind. That is literally, when you break it down in the Latin, that is what the word means, mind control. I think that that's going to break. Like, I think that it's going to sever, where like the average pleb is going to be like, wait a second, what's really going on here? The second that the goods stop arriving, like, you don't have chicken wings? Okay. Steak's a little expensive? Okay. But like the second that like things really start to get a little weird, like, oh, like the average American pleb right now is telling you like, Trav, I mean, it always takes a year to produce a new car, Trav. Like, no, there's only one other culture in the world where the waiting list for a new car was longer than 1 year. Only one in modern industrial society in the last 100 years. Can you name it? Soviet Russia, pre-1991. So that's it. Like, that's the only place in the world where you're going to find a longer waiting list than the current Western nations. Well, it's because of chip shortages. We can't produce chips. Like, dude, we can't produce a lot of stuff here. Like, a lot of stuff. I'm optimistic long term. Obviously, we will. But you have a major culture war before that's going to occur. Like, you have this war occurring right now between like the email class and like the chuds. And the chuds are like you call them like your blue collar business owners, your kulaks, the guy that owns 9 plumbing vans, the guy that's the electrician that employs 12 guys, like those are like your chuds. And like the guys that work with them, those are chuds. And then you've got your libs, and they typically like concentrate in the email classes where they're like, oh, we love shutting down things, we love staying at home, we love Amazon showing up to our house. And the one thing you need to watch for this: when Amazon goes to weekly deliveries because of carbon, it won't be fuel, it will be, oh, carbon. When that happens, we're damn close. But my prediction, as you know from last video, I think that we're going to see a boom before a recession. Could be wrong, totally wrong. 6 weeks, we'll know. But they just printed too much currency and not enough of that's moving around yet. I mean, there's $4 trillion, according to Rick Rule's numbers, where it hasn't moved accounts yet. So they printed all this currency, but it hasn't gone into circulation yet. So when it does, I think you're going to see like a quick little boom before you get your bust. But I find it really interesting because the average American right now is like, oh, it always takes a year to build new cars. Travel, this is always like, they'll just justify. But if you read this book, like in these parallels, dude, this just ends. Like, there's a point where it's just like, it's over. Like, as far as like that larger level, your states probably break off. Ultimately, government is always done at the lower level. At the local level is really where it occurs and where it's enforced. But the idea that you now live in a nation where you have a ministry of truth under the Department of Homeland Security, and they will very, very, very likely have like their own SWAT teams under the Ministry of Truth. Yeah, dude, this is like KGB stuff, man, but better. Because, you know, like we like the KGB wasn't as efficient, I guess, as evil as like our own FBI or CIA. Like, these people, like, this is just like the fact that these people still live inside of our society, and people are just like, yeah, you know, like, this is just like departments of the government that we have. It's like, dude, like, they're destroying your nation and they're destroying your culture. And like, you can't trust these people as far as you could, like, you can't trust these things like January 6th. Like, what's that? Like, whose op is that? Like, it's not an organic thing that's occurring. Like, that's clearly federal level. But man, I just find this stuff hilarious. And I thought it's just really, really funny to me. It's super funny to me, where it's like, oh, wow, there's a ministry of truth now. And I'm optimistic because I think it all just breaks apart. But I don't think the average person is preparing for like what that's going to look like. Like, this is going to snap. Like, this is just like, this isn't going to work long term. Unless they're successful in moving all the American plebs and like officially killing off the kulaks, like the Bolsheviks did in 1917. Like, you know, like they were successful in killing off the kulaks and the chuds. That's like one of the things that they had to do. And it's possible that the Ministry of Truth or whatever, and all these different branches of this swamp that we have, and like they just have a currency printer, they're just printing, like, this is getting wild. And I just think not a whole lot of actionable from this video, except I would recommend this book. I'm looking at these parallels in this book, and I'm just like, man, the record keeping of the Soviets, really fascinating. Not a lot of countries had the detailed record keeping that they did in Soviet Russia. So it's one benefit, I guess, is we can look back and see exactly what happened and when things started to change. And actually, like, right around 81, 82, there was a lot of issues that led up to the 91 collapse of the Soviet Union. And it was a really, if you look at collapses, it was really peaceful collapse. There was no like civil wars. You know, the whole nation broke into 9 different sections. I think it's very reminiscent of what's about to happen in America, say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where like, I think that your Southeast is going to break off. I think like California, Oregon going to break off. I think the Northeast going to do their own thing. The idea that Washington is going to have any stranglehold over the country like it does now, like, oh, you're not allowed to buy from Russian oil companies. Like, why? They make the product I want to buy. Like, why does it matter? Like, can I just, oh, because, you know, Hunter Biden has to be able to bang prostitutes in Ukraine. And if we don't have that, well, we can't have that. So we have to throw the American empire away and sanction the entire world. And like, but here's what's about to happen. You've got countries like Germany that can't play the game. Like, they can't play the sanction game like we can. They don't have, like, so when they defect from the U.S. allies, meaning like, hey, I know that the U.S. and everyone's doing the sanction thing, but we just can't afford to do it, so we're not doing it anymore. And then other nations like India remain neutral, and like Brazil and obviously China, like once they start to go like, hey, yeah, we're going to do business with Russia because it makes a lot of sense. And the U.S. elites are like, no, but you're not allowed. That's when we get really close. That's when Amazon starts delivering once a week. And, you know, it'll be cool to see some no-knock raids by the Ministry of Truth. That's going to be really crazy. It's going to be some real KGB stuff. Except I like the word CIA better than I like KGB. I think it's got a better ring to it. So you're going to have like CIA no-knock raids with the Ministry of Truth, you know, just hammering down your American plebs. It's hilarious. Killing off kulaks, just doing what they do, man. Just unbelievable, but really cool book. And I'd recommend it. And, you know, good luck with the Ministry of Truth, guys. You know, whatever that is. Sounds pretty damn subjective. but man, this is getting crazy. And I mean, I guess it has to be spoken, but it's like people have a hard time recognizing that empires do fail and collapse over time. It's just a natural thing. And we all expect that things like that take long periods of time. And this is true. But then when they get to the final parts, like 90% of the move happens in the last 10% of the time. And so we're inching close. The Ministry of Truth puts us into the 80s right now. Like we're 80% there, where it's going to be like, okay, once we get to like that last final 10%, that's when you get your 90% rip to the collapse side. And we're getting really close. Like when you introduce a Ministry of Truth into your nation, because your nation is fracturing at all different levels, and you do things like, you know, raise the price of energy 50% in like a 3-month period, with no signs of that reversing course or anything like that, you get to this spot where it just starts to erode and fall apart, and there's not really any ways to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And we're inching a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and we just need the currency to fall a little bit. And right now, obviously, the dollar is rising in relative strength on the Dixie, the DXY, because other nations are like, hey, we want to get out of our crappy currency and get into like something like the dollar. And it's all unwinding slowly but surely, and then extremely quickly. It is all definitely unwinding. But hey, guys, Ministry of Truth, looking forward to seeing them. Looking forward to getting some emails from them, actually. Looking forward to meeting some of these people. You know, I just want to be able to identify them. Like, oh, yeah, that's a guy that works at the Ministry of Truth right there. That guy right there, he works there. And then, you know, when you get down to like this 1991 moment, and you're going to, because every large country, like China had this in the 50s. People don't know this, but like they killed 50 million of their own people in the 1950s under Mao. And they had a color revolution. That's what happened. And then Soviets had it going on before that, but then they collapsed in 91. Both of those societies, great societies, literally kind of collapsed and had to rebirth themselves to become the empires that they are today. China being like having the lead, Russia having the secondary, and all the American plebs going like, we're America, man, we're the best, we're unconquerable. And it's like, nope, we didn't have it in the 50s, we didn't have it in 91, but by 31, America will have our turn. So we'll be the last one in and the first one to recover. And long term, like over 50 to 100 years, I'm sure that we'll recover very well. But like in the very, very short term, we're inching forward to where you'll have like these well put together countries like China and Russia and others. And then America is going to be a literal basket case. Like if we can land at like an Argentina like outcome, that would be a good outcome. And Argentina was the second wealthiest country in the entire world in 1903. And man, did they fall. But they had this collectivism. They had like these collectivist policies and politicians, and they continued to print currency, and they fell. And that's what happens. And so we are right there at that point. And, you know, hey, man, I mean, at least we got a Ministry of Truth. Like right before this gets really crazy next few years, it's good that we have a Ministry of Truth. I think that's, oh, it's freaking crazy, guys. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys down in the comments. And until next video.